Like and subscribe right now, or you're going to have bad luck for the rest of the week. Usually, when someone brings up animals frozen in ice, we tend to think back to the Ice Age and massive prehistoric animals trapped in giant glaciers for many thousands of years. Though those are certainly fascinating, sometimes they're not the only animals, or in this case, mammals, that got themselves in a chilly situation. Ancient or very recent, we're going to take you on a journey through 10 mammals that unfortunately couldn't escape the ice. Stay tuned for our last entry. It's arguably one of the most intriguing ones on this list. Top 10 mammals found frozen in ice. Number 10. Baby woolly mammoth. Woolly mammoths are universally connected to the Ice Age and big, ferocious animals traversing vicious tundra. More than one adult mammoth has been found well-preserved in ice. But in May 2007, in the Yamal Peninsula of Siberia, reindeer hunter Yuri Khudi and his 2 sons discovered the frozen remains of a 35-day-old baby mammoth named Lyuba, exposed on a sandbar in the Yuribey River. She was so perfectly preserved that paleontologists were even able to discover she had milk and plant matter still in her stomach. The cause of death was most likely drowning, as her lungs were full of mud. Lyuba is estimated to have lived 42,000 years ago. She resides in the Shemanovskiy Museum and Exhibition Center in Salekhard, Russia. Number 9. Ötzi the Iceman. Moving from a frozen baby woolly mammoth is, perhaps, a contemporary of sorts. The 5,000 years old Copper Age mummy of a man lying amid sheets of melting ice in the Tyrolean Alps, between the border of Italy and Austria. Nicknamed Ötzi or Ötzi, the corpse was discovered in 1991. Despite evidence of an arrow wound in his left shoulder and previous trauma to his head, Ötzi is quite well preserved. In fact, he's the most studied mummy of any human on Earth. Buried with him were over 400 items relating to clothing, healing and medicine, and survival. 2 theories currently exist concerning his death. The original is the disaster theory, in which he was attacked, bled out, and died on the mountain, thus being preserved in ice for centuries. The other is the social theory. Ötzi may have been a person of importance among his people. The social theory speculates that he was desiccated after his death, then placed at his final resting grounds months after, with all the items he'd need for a successful afterlife. Regardless of which theory is correct, or if there is another, Ötzi continues to be highly popular for viewing. He's laid out in a costly glass freezing chamber in Bozen. Number 8. Huge frozen penguin. Hopping from Bozen to La Misata on Seymour Island, Antarctica, we have another ancient animal, the Colossus penguin, named such because it was estimated to grow up to 6 feet 8 inches, or about 2 meters in height, and would weigh around 250 pounds or 113 kilograms. The largest modern penguin, the emperor penguin, grows up to 4 feet or 1.2 meters, and tops out at around 100 pounds or 45 kilograms. Imagine the Colossus penguin towering over you! And the bigger a penguin is, the longer it can hold its breath underwater. The Colossus penguin may have been able to stay underwater for up to 40 minutes. This also makes sense, as these penguins required far more food than smaller ones. But, like their smaller cousins, they tended to live in large groups for social reasons and for protecting their eggs. It's probably not surprising to say that these Colossus penguins had no natural enemies. Number 7. Frozen fox. Before we continue talking about really old frozen mammals in ice, let's jump forward in time to only January 2, 2017. On this day, Franz Stelle in Germany came across a fox frozen in ice in the Danube River. He extracted the blocks of ice containing the fox from the river and placed the animal on display outside his family's hotel in Friedingen, which is located on the upper reaches of the Danube near its source in southwestern Germany. Although Franz stated it's not uncommon to come across animals frozen to death in bodies of water, we're pretty sure it was still a shocking scene to see such a thing outside a public establishment. Number 6. Fighting frozen moose. Speaking of animals frozen in bodies of water, another contemporary find was discovered on November 2, 2016, encased in 8 inches or 20 centimeters of ice in Unalakleet, Alaska, along the Bering Sea. 2 bull moose seemingly stuck in eternal combat, antlers locked together. It looks like the moose stumbled down into a pond, and with their antlers impossibly locked, couldn't figure out how to escape, and so both drowned and then froze. Most likely, they were fighting over a female. Though this kind of death seems terrible, University of Alaska Fairbanks' Biology and Wildlife Department Chair Chris Huntermark remarked, "These two fellows were unfortunate in that they probably fell into the water while locked together and drowned. Then again, that is a much quicker way to go than by getting locked together in some forest and slowly starving to death." Number 5. Sasha the baby woolly rhino. With those two modern frozen fellas behind us, we'll travel way back in time again for the remainder of our topics. This next one is about a baby woolly rhino. You heard that right, a baby woolly rhino. And the only one found to date at that. Discovered in 2014, the 18-month-old rhino cub was discovered in Siberia's Sakha Republic, along the bank of a stream. The animal was named after Alexander Sasha Bandorov, who discovered it. Though most of the internal organs were gone, the animal's wool, many extremities, an eye, ear, nostrils, and mouth are intact. It's uncertain when the baby died, but it's estimated to have lived around 10,000 years ago. Finding Sasha was so sensational, as scientists hope studying the baby will unlock information about how babies lived and developed at that time. Number 4. Baby cave lions. Now, even though Sasha was pretty sensational, this discovery of two highly well-preserved lion cubs may just top that. Firstly, these two cubs aren't siblings, even though they were found frozen deep in the Siberian Arctic just 49 feet, or 15 meters apart. It's been discovered that they're separated by around 15,000 years. The second and less well-preserved cub, Boris, is around 43,000 years old, while Sparta, perhaps the best-preserved Ice Age animal ever found, is around 28,000 years old. In fact, Sparta has everything: all her organs, fur, teeth, skin, even her whiskers. Besides both cubs looking a bit ruffled, it's not clear how they passed away. What is clear, though, is that scientists are quite excited about the finds and are looking forward to sequencing DNA to reveal far more about lions at the time than any external study could. Number 3. 18,000-year-old puppy. We go from frozen Siberian cat cubs to an 18,000-year-old Siberian wolf puppy frozen in permafrost in this next point. Except, even now, scientists aren't sure if this is a dog, a wolf, or possibly a predecessor of both. Dogor, or friend in the Yakut language as the puppy is called, was found in the Siberian permafrost in summer 2018. Like with the lion cubs, Dogor was very well preserved, with his head, nose, mouth, whiskers, eyelashes, and even his milk teeth still intact. It was determined from rib bone DNA that Dogor is male, but as we've stated, that's about it. The older a creature is, the harder it often is to determine just what it is. Since Dogor lived so long ago, his genetics are rather confusing. However, what scientists do know is that he's super cute. Number 2. The Ice Maiden. For our last two topics in our list, we turn to frozen human beings instead of animals. This first one is that of the Ice Maiden. Also erroneously called the Ice Princess, this 5th century CE Pazodak woman was discovered in the Ukok Plateau by archaeologist Natalia Polozmak. The Ice Maiden's tomb is more precisely located in the Altai Mountains near Russia's border with China. She was laying on her side in an 8-foot or 2.4 meters coffin in the ground, entombed in ice. Tattoos litter her arms. Her head is shaved, though she wore a 3-foot or near 1 meter tall wig and hat. After further investigation, evidence from the tomb determined that she, perhaps, was a priestess, healer, or shaman instead of a princess. Only in 2014 did researchers suggest that her cause of death may have been breast cancer. The body has been highly controversial since its discovery. Being Caucasian instead of Mongolian descent, a dispute rose between Russian authorities and local inhabitants over who has rights to the find. As of 2012, the body was returned to the Altai, who keep it in a special mausoleum. Since then, there's been no further excavations as the process has been forbidden. Number 1. 3 frozen children. Also not royalty, but possibly connected to spiritual practices of a culture, some 500 years ago, during the peak of the Incan culture, 3 children were taken up to the top of the 22,100-foot, or 6,739-meter summit of the active volcano Yuyayaco, on the border of modern-day Chile and Argentina. This is where all 3 of them were found in 1999, very well preserved. Scientists used hair samples and discovered that the children had been fed large quantities of drugs and alcohol many months prior to their deaths. And from that discovery, it was determined that all 3 children were sent to the summit as human sacrifices. The oldest child, age 13, was called the Maiden. The two younger ones, ages 4 to 5, named Yuyayako Boy and a Lightning Girl, were treated well, though not as well as the maiden, also suggesting that she was the main or special sacrifice. According to Incan culture at the time, being chosen as the maiden was a high honor. Currently, though, just how all three children passed away is undetermined, but further scientific study hopes to reveal all such secrets. And with that final entry in our list, we've come to the end of 10 mammals frozen in ice and in time. We're well aware there's many other creatures and humans that have been trapped in ice for long periods of time, but we'll get to them in another video. Did we miss any you thought should have been on this list? Just comment and let us know. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to get notifications of future content. Until next time!